I didn't set out to question how buildings are built. I was studying Victorian-era architecture, cataloging construction methods across major European capitals, routine academic work. And then I noticed something that changed everything I thought I knew about the 19th century. Not one building, not one photograph, a pattern of structures so massive, so technically sophisticated, that once you understand what the official record claims about how they were built, you cannot look at them the same way again. We're told the 19th century was a period of rapid industrialization, steam engines, iron and steel, new construction techniques. Fair enough. But what I found doesn't just fit that narrative, it exceeds it by orders of magnitude. And the deeper I looked, the more I realized that someone, at some point, decided we weren't supposed to notice. Over the next 20 minutes, I'm going to show you 5 specific anomalies the official timeline cannot explain. Real photographs, real census records, real engineering analyses, and at the 18-minute mark, one piece of physical evidence, confirmed by modern technology, that ties every single anomaly together. Stay until the end. You'll understand why when you get there. Before we go further, if the idea that history is missing something keeps you up at night, subscribe right now, because what I'm about to show you is just the first thread. Hit the bell so you don't miss where this goes next. Now let's get into it. Go to the Library of Congress Digital Archive right now. Search for the Detroit Publishing Company's collection of the 1893 World's Columbian Exposition in Chicago. Take your time. Study those buildings. Over 200 structures, massive neoclassical buildings with Corinthian columns, enormous domes, ornamental details so intricate that a single facade would take modern craftsmen months to reproduce, covering 690 acres, a fully functioning electrical grid in 1893. Underground water systems, sewage networks, an elevated rail line connecting the grounds. We are told all of it was designed and built in approximately 2 years, in a swamp, then used for 6 months, then demolished, every single one. The official explanation, temporary structures, a material called staff, plaster and cement over wooden frames, built for show, torn down after, case closed. Except the photographs don't show temporary structures. They show buildings with the weight and presence of structures designed to last centuries. They show engineering coherence, electrical, hydraulic, structural, that you cannot fake in 2 years with horse-drawn carts. Before you decide that's just remarkable engineering, look up modern construction timelines. A single modern office building with computer-aided design, prefabricated components, and heavy machinery takes 2 to 4 years. A sports stadium takes 4 to 6. A single ornate government building can take a decade or more. So how did workers in 1891, with horse-drawn carts and hand tools, build 200 monumental structures complete with electrical systems in less time than it takes us today to build a single shopping mall? The math doesn't work, and Chicago wasn't unique. Pull up the 1900 Paris Exposition, the 1904 St. Louis World's Fair, specifically the panoramic photographs taken from the observation wheel looking south, the 1915 Panama Pacific Exposition in San Francisco. Every single one shows the same pattern: enormous, impossibly detailed buildings, absurdly short construction timelines, used briefly, demolished completely, hundreds of these buildings, across decades, across continents, all following the same cycle: appear, display, destroy. And the architectural style is never what you'd expect from temporary exhibition halls. These aren't experimental modern structures. They are deeply, profoundly classical. Corinthian columns, Roman arches, Renaissance domes, the exact vocabulary associated with permanence. Why would you build temporary structures in a style specifically designed to look eternal? Unless they weren't built for the fairs at all, unless the fairs were built around them. Now let me show you where the same blueprint appears on every inhabited continent in military architecture. Search for star forts, also called bastion forts, tres Italienne, geometric fortifications. They exist on every inhabited continent: Europe, Hundreds of them. North America, South America, Africa, India, Southeast Asia, Japan, Australia. We're told they were independent military innovations. The star shape eliminated blind spots, let defenders cover every angle, a logical solution that spread through colonial contact. Reasonable enough. But look at the geometry more carefully. These aren't rough approximations of a star shape. They are mathematically exact constructions, perfect symmetry, identical angles, proportional relationships between wall thickness, point length, and interior space, consistent across continents. 3 examples. Measure them yourself. Fort McHenry, Baltimore, Maryland. Measure the angle of each star point. Palmanova, northeastern Italy, supposedly built 2 centuries earlier. Different continent, different civilization entirely. The angles are identical to within a fraction of a degree. Fortaleza de São José da Ponta Grossa, southern Brazil, built by Portuguese colonists in the 1740s. Same angles, same proportional relationships, same mathematical system governing every dimension. 3 forts, 3 continents, 3 supposedly unconnected civilizations. Identical geometry down to fractions of a degree. The official explanation requires us to believe that military engineers in Italy, America, and Brazil independently arrived at the exact same mathematical solution with the exact same precision without contact. That's not independent innovation. That's a blueprint being followed. And here's what truly stopped me. Many of these star forts appear to have been built into the earth rather than on top of it. Their lower levels extend beneath the current ground surface, and the terrain has risen around them, as if the ground level changed after the structures were already standing. Which raises a question you can answer right now, in your own city. Go outside. Find the oldest buildings in your city, the ones from the 1800s or earlier. Look at the ground floor windows. How many of them are partially below street level? How many have room with full-size windows and ornate architectural detailing, now sitting entirely underground? Ask yourself a simple question. Why would anyone design elaborate windowed rooms to be buried? The official answer is that street levels rose over time. Infrastructure, landfill, development, and in some documented cases, that's true. Chicago literally raised its entire street level in the 1850s and 1860s, jacking up buildings and filling in beneath them. And that's well documented, but the pattern I found goes far beyond Chicago. London, Melbourne, Buenos Aires, Moscow, cities on different continents with completely different geological foundations, different municipal histories, different construction traditions, all showing the same anomaly. Ornate underground levels, submerged windows, ground floors that were never designed to be underground, cities that never ran a documented street-raising program. In Edinburgh, the underground vaults beneath South Bridge reveal entire streets of sealed rooms and passages. The official explanation? Unsanitary storage vaults that were filled in. But look at the architecture. Windows that once opened to the outside. Doorways designed for public foot traffic. Residential and commercial features throughout. These were not storage rooms. These were ground floors. In Seattle, the entire original city center exists 1 story below the current street level, preserved almost intact, with full-size storefronts and sidewalks now underground. In Portland, the Shanghai tunnels extend beneath the entire Old Town district. In Istanbul, the Basilica Cistern is one of hundreds of underground structures whose full extent has never been mapped. Now add what modern engineering analysis has found. Structural engineers examining buildings supposedly constructed with 19th century technology have found load-bearing calculations suggesting knowledge of stress distribution and material science that wasn't formally developed until the 20th century. The buildings work better than they should, engineered more precisely than the tools available at their supposed construction date would allow. These findings appear in engineering journals and archaeological reports that almost nobody reads because nobody thinks to look for them. And these buried buildings had residents who, in the census records, simply ceased to exist. Take any major American city that boomed in the mid-1800s. Chicago, San Francisco, St. Louis, Denver. Look at the census records from the decades before their official founding. You'll find something peculiar. Population figures that don't add up. Records showing significant populations in areas supposedly unsettled wilderness. And then, in the census records immediately after the fires and reconstruction events, the populations don't just shift in number, they shift in composition. Entire demographic groups appear and disappear between census counts in ways that simple migration doesn't explain. I want to be precise here, because this is where I've spent the most time verifying. When in Chicago's census data before and after the 1871 fire, records that historians Karen Sawislak in Smoldering City, 1995, and Carl Smith in Urban Disorder and the Shape of Belief, 1995, have documented as anomalous neighborhoods recorded as populated before the fire appear as empty lots afterward, even in areas the fire demonstrably never reached. Families present in the 1870 count are absent from the 1880 count. No death certificates, no documented migration, no forwarding address in any subsequent census anywhere in the country. Not hundreds of families, thousands. The official records for these populations are not incomplete. They are sparse, as if their histories ended the moment the old city burned and the new city was built on top of it. Where did they go? I don't have the answer. I have the gap. And the gap is real. And it is documented, and nobody is seriously asking why it exists. If the missing Chicago families is new to you, drop a 1 in the comments right now. I read every single one. Subscribe if you haven't. The follow-up to this is worse. Now, the fires. The fires are where the pattern becomes impossible to ignore. I'm giving you 3. Think carefully about each one. First, the Great Chicago Fire. October 8, 1871. The official story: Catherine O'Leary's cow kicked over a lantern. 17,450 buildings destroyed. The Chicago Historical Society has officially stated the cow story is almost certainly a fabrication, never substantiated. So if the cow didn't start it, what did? Here's what most people don't know. On the exact same night, October 8, 1871, the Great Peshtigo Fire destroyed the town of Peshtigo, Wisconsin, 250 miles north. An estimated 1,500 to 2,500 people killed. The deadliest fire in American history. On the same night, fires also broke out across the entire state of Michigan, destroying Holland, Manistee, and Port Huron. 3 states, the same night, the same hours. Our 3 simultaneous firestorms across 3 states, destroying cities hundreds of miles apart. That is not a weather event. Second, San Francisco, 1906. We're told it was the earthquake, but contemporary accounts describe fires breaking out in areas the earthquake never touched, and then entire neighborhoods that survived the quake intact were deliberately dynamited by city officials, claiming they were creating fire breaks. They destroyed undamaged buildings to stop a fire, and the oldest sections of the city, the sections with architecture that didn't match the official founding narrative, those sections burned or were demolished. Whatever record existed of what came before went with them. Third, look at what happened in every one of these cities after the fires. Not during, after. The reconstruction produced simpler buildings, now less ornate, less sophisticated, more consistent with what we'd expect from the era. As if the fires removed structures too advanced for the official timeline and replaced them with buildings that fit the story. Why would reconstruction produce less impressive buildings than the ones that burned? If we had the capability to build the originals, why didn't we build the replacements to the same standard? Unless we didn't build the originals. And the cities built to replace what burned all share something that shouldn't be possible. Pull up Washington, D.C., Paris, St. Petersburg, New Delhi on Google Earth. The same grand axial boulevards, the same mathematical relationship between government buildings and public space. The same geometric layouts repeated across continents, across cultures, across empires that were supposed rivals. These cities were all planned or significantly redesigned during the same narrow window of time, the late 1700s to the mid-1800s. The exact period when maps were being redrawn, the exact period when old records were burning, the exact period when new histories were being written. Which brings me to the evidence I promised you at the beginning. The one piece that makes everything else make sense. In 2011, a ground-penetrating radar survey was conducted beneath the streets of Edinburgh as part of a routine utilities assessment. What they found was published in the Journal of Archaeological Science. It received almost no mainstream attention. Beneath the documented 18th century vaults under South Bridge, the radar revealed a second layer of structures at a significantly greater depth. Structures that don't correspond to any known construction period in the city's documented history. Not Roman ruins in expected locations. Not medieval foundations. Structures with architectural regularity, consistent room dimensions, parallel walls, evidence of organized internal space, at a depth suggesting they predate anything in Edinburgh's official record. The researchers flagged it for further investigation. As far as the public record shows, that investigation never happened. This isn't unique to Edinburgh. Ground-penetrating radar surveys in Boston, Rome, Mexico City, and Beijing have all produced anomalous readings at depths inconsistent with documented construction history. Tunnels connecting buildings across entire city blocks. Chambers with architectural features matching no known building project. Foundations extending far deeper than the structures above them require. As if the visible buildings are just the top floors of something much larger buried beneath them. Now put it all together. Construction timelines that defy the capabilities of the era that claims credit for them. Identical geometric precision on every inhabited continent. Buildings buried beneath cities that ran no street-raising program. Thousands of census residents who vanished without a trace. City plans of impossible sophistication created simultaneously across the globe. Modern radar confirming underground structures that have no place in the official record. And fires, devastating, convenient fires, destroying the evidence at precisely the moments when it would have mattered most. I'm not telling you what happened. I'm showing you what the record shows and what the record doesn't show. Each anomaly, taken alone, might be explainable. Taken together, they suggest something the official historical narrative cannot accommodate. That the infrastructure of our civilization might not have been built by the people we're told built it. That what we call the 19th century construction boom might have been the occupation and modification of structures that already existed. That the world's fairs weren't showcases for newly built wonders, but public exhibitions of inherited architecture before its scheduled demolition. And that the demolition served a purpose, to erase the physical evidence of whoever came before, to allow new histories to be written without inconvenient structures contradicting them. The next time you walk past an old building, look at the ground floor. Check whether the windows sit below the street. Ask yourself why ornate rooms with full-size windows were designed to exist underground. The next time you see photographs of a World's Fair, count the buildings. Calculate the timeline. Ask yourself if the math works. And ask yourself why these questions feel uncomfortable. Ask yourself who benefits from that instinct. The built world around us might be an inheritance, not an achievement. The official story of how our cities were constructed might be the most successful cover story ever written. Written not in books, but in demolition orders, in census gaps, in fire reports, and in the silent burial of ground floors that were never designed to be underground. Somewhere beneath the streets we walk every day, beneath the foundations we never think to question, there might be the remains of a world we were never told existed, not destroyed, just buried, just waiting to be remembered. Someone built this world before us. And someone decided we weren't supposed to know who. The follow-up drops next week. It goes deeper into what the radar found and what's underneath the cities we haven't looked at yet. Subscribe. Turn on notifications. Don't miss it.